So, is it worth upgrading from a Movo VXR10 to a Movo VXR10 Pro? Let's see. Hi, rather than just show you the VXR10 Pro, I thought I'd combine it with the VXR10 because they're kind of similar but actually quite different too. They're a different mic. The old one is cheaper than the new one, but as you can see, when they're in a windshield, they look pretty similar. I've changed the windshield on the old VXR10 because I found that with the original windshield, the wind tended to get through. So I've put something more substantial onto this one. Now you'd look at this one and you'd think it's less substantial than the one I've put on there. And the funny thing is once you get the foam in there, it's quite a nice design, because what happens is you get the foamy off of there. There's a foamy inside there. It fits right in there, dead snug, and there's a lip in there, and it actually holds the foamy in place. So the foamy is really snug behind the dead cat. And I found this dead cat to be really quite effective. So for some reason, this one is actually better than the original that came with this one, which I've changed anyway. So that's the first thing. The dead cats have been improved, I think. The VXR10 Pro comes with a foamy, which I've put inside the dead cat. This dead cat, which is actually quite effective. I found that quite good. And of course, leads to connect it to your phone or to your camera. You've got to watch the leads because you must connect them the right way round. Also comes with a nice Lyre shock mount. This is a Rycote shock mount, so it's really quite nice. Headphone socket on the back like the Boya, but that will only work if you connect it to your phone, not to a camera. So that's the thing. Now I've got some specs to compare written here, so I'm just going to go through them so you can compare with the original and this one, so we can see what the differences are. First of all, the original is, as I've said, a cardioid. This is a super cardioid, so it's going to have a tighter pickup, which is a good thing, I think, for camera microphones. The original has a frequency response of 35 Hz up to 18 kilohertz. This one extends the bass region down to 20, so it goes from 20 to 18, which is nice as well if you want that lower end. Not so nice if you're near traffic, because there's no bass cut on this, there's no high pass filter, so you'd have to take that out in post. The original has a quoted sensitivity of 42. This one has a quoted sensitivity of 36. So it's a little bit more sensitive, but in practice, I wasn't sure about that actually. So we'll see. The original signal to noise, the first one is 76 dB, whereas this one's improved by a further 2 dB, 78 dB. 78 dB for these little microphones isn't actually bad. That's really quite low in noise. So that's a good figure. As you can see, you saw earlier, it's quite a bit bigger, significantly bigger. It's also a little bit heavier. The original is 51 grams. This is 60 grams. So let's see what they sound like and we'll compare them. And for good measure, I'll stick in a Boya MM1 Plus as well. This is the sound of the Movo VXR10 Pro close up. This is actually my preferred position, and when I can, I try to get an extension lead into the camera and get the microphone nice and close, and that way you're going to get much better audio. So what I would do is, rather than have it in shot like this, I'd have it just there and I would use it as if I was using an on-camera mic or whatever, but it picks up much better sound just because it's closer to you. So this is the Movo VXR10 Pro from the front. This is the microphone from the side. Now I'm going to go off from the back, but slightly offset because it's a super cardioid, and hopefully it's dead, a bit dead there. Then I'm on the rear. That's the rear part. Back to the side, and now trying not to put noise through, I'm back to the front again. So this is the sound of the Movo VXR10 Pro Plus. Now I'm going to get the other model, the VXR10, the original model, and compare it directly to this one. This is the sound of the original VXR10, and I think if you're wearing headphones you will probably hear that this one has quite a different sound to the new version. I think they've really improved the sound actually on the new one. So this is the VXR10 from the front, this is the side, this is the rear, back to the side again, and that's the front. But remember, this is the original one, and the one we're testing this week is the new one. As a further comparison, because a lot of people think it might be the same microphone, this is the new Boya microphone, the Boya MM1 Plus, and the MM1 Plus looks, for all intents and purposes, like the Movo. The only thing I did find with the Boya was that it sounds good, actually, very, very good. In fact, I think it's very similar to the Movo, if not the same. But the Dead Cat wasn't quite up to scratch. When I took it out in the wind, it really reacted. I think the Movo is less reactive, actually. But this is the sound of the Boya from the front, Boya from the side, Boya from the rear but offset, Boya from the real rear, Boya from the side, and back to the front again. So that gives you some idea of how the new Movo compares with the most likely contenders. Now I'm back on the VXR10 Pro, so you can compare it directly with the Boya, and that's the sound of the VXR10 Pro. Now, as I said earlier, the Boya tends to react with the wind. It's quite sensitive to air and wind noise. So when you blow even on the cover, it can be a bit feisty. So I'm just going to test the cover with the Movo. Now, it nearly said Moya, but this is the Movo. So this is the wind going onto the front. This gentle breeze. A gentle breeze on the side. Right, now I'm going to give it a hurricane. Here we go. So bear in mind, this is a lot of air. On the side. Now, it was that particular test blowing onto the Dead Cat, onto the windshield, that made me kind of think, well, the Boya's not useful outdoors. There was too many instances where I was getting wind noise in my recordings, and I'm hoping that this one might be a bit better, because we retain the good Boya sound, but if the Dead Cat or the windshield is better, that's a bonus. Okay, now for this shot I'm allowed to do jazz hands because I'm not holding the microphone, it's actually on top of the camera, so it's now about 3 feet away. This is not ideal for sound, and it's more likely to pick up the room sound, but being a supercardioid, I'm hoping that it doesn't pick up too much, which would be fantastic for me, especially because this room is not good for sound. This is the way that most people would use this mic, on top of the camera. Outdoors it's not so much of an issue, but indoors it really can be, because it just picks up reverberation all over the place. So I'm hoping the supercardioid polar pattern of this microphone will help to improve the sound, at least in my awful front room. Well, at least awful for sound, that's the thing, because I've got bare walls and you know, these rooms are not really designed for good sound. So that's how most people would use this microphone, on top of the camera. This is 3 feet away, so any more would be just too much, but outdoors I think this is going to be perfectly usable. Just to act as a direct comparison again, I'm back into jazz hands mode, and this time I've got the original VXR10 on top of the camera, and it's 3 feet away again, same as the other one. And again, if you've got headphones on, you might hear some differences in the tonal characteristics of this microphone, but also you might hear some differences in the way that it picks up the reverb in the room, because this one is a cardioid, and the VXR10 Pro, is it? Yes, it's the VXR10 Pro. These names is a supercardioid, so it may be less prone to picking up room sound, and this one may be picking up a little bit more. But that's the sound of the original VXR10, 3 feet away on top of the camera. So that's it for the test. Now, in my opinion, the new one is kind of an improvement on the old one in that it's a little bit sharper in the treble, and I think it's got probably quite a good bass response, although the original one is a bit more mid-bass heavy, so it sounds heavier to the ears, but actually the new version has got a nicer clarity to its sound. It's also less susceptible, I think, to wind noise, which is rather nice. So I think the new one is actually an improvement over the old VXR10. So the VXR10 Pro gets the thumbs up. Now, in comparison to the Boya, that's a little bit more difficult, because I think the sound of the Boya MM1 Plus is very similar to the 10 Pro, the VXR10 Pro. They're very, very close in sound. Some people have even said it's probably the same microphone. Could be, I'm not certain. I'm not absolutely certain. So, but some people do think that. The biggest difference I think I've found is that when I take the Boya outside, it seems to react to the wind a little bit more than the Movo. That's with the the windshield that the Boya comes with. So of course you could change the windshield to fix that. So it's not a big deal, but it does mean if you go for a Boya, you're going to have to buy a dead cat if you want to use it in pretty windy conditions, whereas with the Movo you don't have to. So in that respect the Movo would be cheaper because you don't have to buy a dead cat. I did find the Boya just a little bit reactive, and I'm not sure if it's because of the capsule or because of the dead cat. I'm not absolutely sure. So, but they are similar, I think, in sound. So I hope this was useful to you, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.